why I am so passionate about this is that I feel really sad when I see my talented peers give up. And I think for some people that is the right call, and they can be free to do another passion that they love and open up new doors. But then there are some that I see that just feel completely blocked and they don't know how to get out of it. And it makes me really sad for people to just conclude that there's no other way. But there are other modalities, and there are people out there who see the potential and want to help cultivate that.
Welcome to Intentional Actor. I'm Ariel, and I'm so excited because this is the first episode where I will introduce you to my partner in crime, Sarah B, who is also at Intentional Actor. She's also an incredible singer and performer and songwriter and certified hypno coach. And in this episode, we just riff. We chat all things hypnosis and talk about how we got started and our personal experiences with using hypnosis to aid in our performances, and how hypnosis can help you at any stage in your career, whether you want to build your confidence, whether you want to get good at line learning or delve deeper into your characters. There's so many ways that self-hypnosis can help you, and we hope that you enjoy.
All right. So excited to have you here. We've never actually met in the flesh.
No, we haven't actually. We haven't met, but it feels like we've met on a soul level.
We have met on a soul level for sure. Today I was looking through my my vitamins in my pantry, and I was like, because I got an allergy test back, and there's a few things that I can't have now, like random herbs like ginkgo and stuff like that. And I was looking through, and I'm like, who can I give this to? And I'm like, oh, I'll just give it to Sarah. But then I have to like ship it to Colorado. So it's kind of become apparent to me that actor well-being is a really important piece of the equation, which I never was able to find through like a scene study class or, like a specific vocal class, or even going to counseling, and literally anything I tried. So I wasn't really able to define what I was looking for and what I was needing in terms of like emotional support and guidance, and or just around kind of managing the disappointments and sometimes the wins, and generally just like the ups and downs. I never had I never was able to find that. And then so I came upon hypnotherapy like 3 or 4 years ago, I think, or it must be about 4 years ago. And I went and saw this lovely woman locally. And I think that was when like hypnotherapy kind of planted the seed of what's possible in terms of incorporating it into my pursuits as an actor. And so I originally started going to her for anxiety management. I think that was it. Yeah, I think it was just anxiety management and probably processing a lot of feelings of like grief and loss around just where I thought I would be. And then once I started training this year, I was just like, oh, there's so much in this. Like hypnotherapy is so powerful that you can apply it to everything. Well, it feels maybe not everything, but so much in terms of acting, when it comes to like line learning, when it comes to confidence, when it comes to things like working on your voice, your creativity, exploring characters. And it just felt like the missing link, at least for me. So I wanted to bring it and take it to my peers and help people who feel like they're struggling, and just doing a class is not enough. This is putting it kind of more in your court of what's possible through relaxation, which is the best.
Hypnosis seems like actors are the best candidate for hypnosis because
Mhm.
you're in theta when you're in your flow.
Mhm.
You're seeing and you're just completely engaged,
Yeah.
right?
Oh my God. Yeah. So I started to realize, especially through theater training. I don't know if you you did theater as well. So I don't know if you knew this, but I didn't know what it was. I just knew when I was in the flow. And I like when you're in theater or you're on the stage and you know it so well, you can just kind of like surrender and just be carried by the story and by the people around you. And it was just like this mysterious thing that would sometimes happen and sometimes wouldn't. And then I would find myself like beating myself up in class or after auditions and be like, I couldn't get into the flow. Like it felt awkward. It felt contrived or pushed, or it just felt off. And then through hypnotherapy training, I started to realize that flow state is theta or a light alpha state. So this is super nerdy, but that's what's happening. You're exactly right. As actors are going into an altered state of consciousness, because you can let that conscious mind go and you can just relax and allow the words to come through or the behaviors, and it's really 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 magical. So that was so cool to see that, like, through training your mind, through like using altered brainwave states or through hypnosis and relaxation, you can access that at will. The more and more you practice, just like anything, which was a revelation, because I think we've all been there where you can't relax and you don't know why, or anxiety's happening, or you have butterflies, or you're doing weird twitchy nervous things to protect yourself. But that was really cool. So I'm excited to explore a little bit more with that. Yeah. And what about you? So in terms of I don't know, like, I guess while we're on flow states, did you know that when you got into hypnotherapy that flow was like an altered brainwave state like theta or alpha, or did you make that link?
I had not. I had also heard of flow, right? And it can be applied to anything. But I remember it being like, oh, yeah, you just got to find your flow, especially with music. And I've been in that in songwriting. It's just like all of a sudden it comes out. And a major part of a song will come out in 15 minutes when there's times where it'll take years to write a song, And I had no idea that I thought that I was at mercy of the gods, like just, am I going to get to be in flow today? And it's so true with hypnosis. And like you said, the more you practice, the more that we're able to access that quality of being. And it's very empowering.
It is really empowering, isn't it? And I can so relate when you're just saying, like, you feel like you're at the mercy of the gods. Like, is it going to come today? Am I going to be completely, pulling my hair out and feeling creatively stifled? But you can do that at will. And I think what our teacher talks about, I think is it Thomas Edison, how he would, whenever he was doing his inventions, he would get himself into that into altered states. And so he would hold, do you know that story of like the holding of the metal balls in your hand? So he would hold two metal balls, and like I guess he'd be sitting in his special chair, and then he would relax himself, so going into a meditative state and slow down his breath. And then he would think of his inventions or contemplate or whatever you want to call it. And then when he went too deep, or it's not too deep, but the goal is, as you know, with theta, is to stay in that space and not fall asleep. And so what would happen when he fell asleep was that these metal balls would go into the pan, and then he would be jolted awake, but then he would remember his invention. And so that was his ritual of getting into the flow while or at will, and practicing that, and then going in writing. So that's why, and that's why I did not know this, but when we're working with people, we're trained to ask people questions. It's not necessarily to get into somebody's mind and probe and psychoanalyze. That's not what we're doing. A lot of the time, what we're doing is we're keeping people in that state so that they're not descending too deep and falling right asleep. We want them to be able to remember and stay in that intuitive, creative place. So, but it's okay to fall asleep too. I've done that with you.
Yeah.
You're like, Ariel. You're just so soothing, so relaxing. So have you, when you're writing a song, for instance, have you been able to cultivate a practice around, getting in the mindset, getting ready to write, accessing theta yet? Or is that something you're
I
working?
do.
You do?
I
Yeah.
do. Yes. Because now that we know, right? I mean, we teach it. And so we practice our own self-hypnosis,
Yeah.
to get us into that flow state. And it's been magical, to tell you.
Really?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there are times where I get short of breath sometimes. I just like get nervous and I'm not even sure about what. Nothing's really happening. Maybe I got into my head too much. And it's so nice to be able to have that tool, sit down with myself, like you just said about Thomas Edison, slowing down the breath and then doing my own, our self-hypnosis. And it's like all of a sudden, anything's possible.
Mm-hmm.
And just really just kind of channeling that and just opening up, right? It's not, I mean, you can always set intentions with it. I mean, it depends on what you want to use it for, but to clear it out, right? And to just be that channel. Yes, I would say that I have been practicing with it. It's still, it's still a practice. Well, let's say that, but I've had those moments where I am the person accessing it. My consciousness is accessing my unconscious.
Yeah.
It's intentional.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool. Because then you're consciously coming into alignment with whatever's going on subconsciously. I feel like a lot of people throw around the word, oh, I'm conscious or consciousness. And yes, that is a piece of it, but it's also delving a little bit deeper of like, okay, yes, you are making these conscious choices, but what's going on underneath? Are you in alignment, or is there another driving force that's trying to keep you safe and protected? How did you find out about hypnosis and hypnotherapy?
How did I find out? Okay. So my first one was I was still in my, it's so funny about, especially with my art, how in the past I would hold myself back. And I would hold myself back by making other things a priority. And so I was speaking with a coworker and we were discussing this. And he said, oh, I practice hypnosis. I'm a hypnotherapist. Do you want to try a session? And so I was like, okay, I'll try it. And he does more shamanistic hypnotherapy. And so that was his mode of transition, I guess. And I just had my very first experience. And I'll tell you, it's really nice now, a couple years later, that I experienced, hypnosis. And it's so much more vivid. Because I remember the first time it was there, but it was very, very light,
Right.
But I got the information, and the information it really healed me. It was amazing that in one session I could get a healing like that, to have a revelation about my life and everything like that. And I think that's what drew me to it so much, because I too have been to counselors and therapists about my own traumas, about my own life dramas, and although they were helpful and I learned a lot of techniques and ability for awareness, I had never experienced such a deep revelation before. And I think that is what led me to seek out more about this. And now that I'm studying the science behind it, I am nerding out like no other. And I'm learning about the different parts of the brain and how it, we have our frontal, we have our parietal, we have our temporal, we have our occipital, and how hypnotherapy accesses all of it. And some areas stronger than others, but there's studies, especially out of Germany. It seems like Germany.
Oh, really? They're on it?
Yeah, they seem to be really on it when it comes into their scientific community. But it's fascinating. And then to me, it's exciting because that means we're not just subject to whatever our current situation is.
Mm-hmm.
We have the potential, we are empowered to live a life of, we could be happy, we can be happy doing what we love, and there's enough for everybody, and it's very exciting. And especially to bring it to actors, this is, I think we discussed this yesterday about how what you do as an actor is so important because it affects potentially millions of people, and even if it's just that one person, that's enough to change so much, and it's very exciting, because actors are on the front line of influence.
Yeah.
And it's, and I'm so, I'm excited for the opportunity.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. It's just the way that our culture is right now. And there is a lot of potential for positive influence. And I think the majority of actors are, recognizing that and taking action from that place. And yeah, and I just think it's a wonderful opportunity. I think that you're right. A lot of people think of it as not necessarily, it's true, it's not rocket science. We're not doing brain surgery, maybe pretending to, but there is a lot of opportunity because the amount of visibility that you have, and storytelling is such a, it's how we got here, it's how we're talking today, it's how we're connected, and how it carries cultures forward and helps us survive. So it is a key thing, I think, to be able to do this for actors. Okay, in terms of your private hypnotherapy practice, have you been able to help clients around confidence, around performance, or anything related to creativity? Or do you have any stories that you can share?
Absolutely. So let's see, I have a client in mind, and when she came to me, she was at a crossroads about what she was to do with her life. And so, just, okay, well, let's see, because I don't have the answers. I have questions, and I have a technique that can help reveal those answers from her, so we were both open to the experience, which I feel like that is what it takes, right? Just an open mind, open heart, and just ready to receive. And so we started our session, and we were kind of gathering information about what her needs are, and just kind of getting some wisdom. And she received some wisdom that it's still with me today. Her wisdom was, feel how you actually feel, not how you think you're supposed to feel. And I just, at first, we talked about it afterwards, and she took that, and all of a sudden she said that she just felt like anything was possible. So she completely started up her own medical aesthetics practice, and she says that she was able to do it all, and she had the idea and opened in 4 months.
What?
Yeah. And I asked her, how are you doing this? She said, well, I have a lot of things happening, and there's a couple times where I'm like, oh, I'm stressed. She's like, wait, am I actually stressed, or do I feel like I should be stressed because I have so many things happening?
That's so interesting.
And so she was able to take that wisdom with her. I mean, and there was a lot of things that she got, but that thing was just so potent that she's able to take it with her. And every time that she has an anxious moment about, being stressed out, a narrative about herself being stressed out, or that she should be stressed out because she has so many things going on. She's got a baby, she's got the business, she's got her own, she's got her own stuff. And she's just able to take a breath and question, is this how I really feel? Oh, no.
Wow.
And just go forward.
That's amazing. That's so, so, so profound. And I think that, there is, I don't know if this was her particular situation and she's the only person who can speak to that, but I think, or where it was coming from, but I think there is this thing in society where we feel like if we're not doing anything, if we're not stressed, or we're not making an impact, or maybe it was learned from someone that you loved, that you admired, and just that constant I can definitely relate to feeling like I should be stressed all the time, but you can also get so much more accomplished when you just do like you said, or like she did for herself, and just take a breath and come back to the way that she's feeling. It's so cool. I see, like, I do feel there's definitely, when it comes to acting culture, I think, or at least from my personal experience, is that there is that kind of go, go, go thing. And it's like, if you always have to be looking ahead to your next gig or your next connection, or in some places like LA, it's next networking event, and it's kind of really focused on what you're not doing. And it's just a culture around that. And I find that also incredibly stressful, because a big part of doing the work and doing the audition process is being able to do it, take it very seriously for those 10 to 30 minutes that you're doing it, and let it go. Which is really, really, really a challenge, is just let it go, and then just continue to come back, and not get worried about what you did in the past, or thinking that you've burnt bridges, or could have done better at, and then not worrying about what's going to happen. Because the cool thing with this business too is that there will always be another opportunity. There always will be. And there's there's just a lot of productions going on. There's a lot of different ways that you can make connections, or you can make your own. There's just there is opportunity. So not getting caught in that neuroses that I find I see so often, that I definitely fell victim to myself, and still do sometimes. So
It's a practice. We're still trying to figure it out, and because we're just people, right? I mean, we're all just people, and it's really cool as you're explaining the benefits for actors, and how this can really up their game, up the level, because it's like an upgrade, right?
Yes.
It's just upgrade, and how it flows. It has the potential to flow into every aspect of their life.
Absolutely.
I mean, what if we could have it all? You can have the wonderful acting career, you can have loving relationships and stability and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a wonderful tool that can just help the whole being.
I think so. Yeah. So and they say that there is a I don't know, would you call it an adage, or there's this saying that in acting, it's like there's no problems in acting. There's and I think you can apply it to everything, but there's no problems in acting. There's only like barriers, I guess. I'm getting it wrong, but like there's barriers translate through all parts of your life. So if you're, hiding in a scene or something like that, or I don't know, holding back, for instance, you're probably doing that in another area of your life. So I think that doing a program and working on the deep layers of the subconscious is beneficial, not only to actors and their acting, and will help them feel more confident, and help with bookings, and kind of solidifying those relationships, but as well as in their own lives, and really thinking about where else am I pulling back? where else can I be more vulnerable, more open? It's just enriching generally.
Yes, enriching.
Yeah.
It's when you were talking about that, it reminded me of a scenario or of an experience I had. I was playing in Denver at an art gallery, and I was playing with a very good violinist, and his name is Yuka. And we get there, and we're practicing, and I get there before him, and I set up where I'm going to be. And I put myself and all of my stuff, my everything, my guitar, my ukulele, my mic, everything in a corner. And
Oh.
this little corner, and Yuka comes and he says, "What are you doing? Get out here." And it was such a wonderful example of how I felt in life.
Yeah.
I was okay with putting myself in a corner. And it's amazing after all of I feel like I'm so passionate about hypnotherapy is because I have experienced it myself. And even working with you, I think of that moment, and then I think of my last show.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was allowed to be there. I was allowed to be center stage, and I was allowed to sing my songs. And it felt like giving myself permission to shine. And I definitely know that it's from definitely our work together for that.
Oh, that is so touching. That makes me so happy. And I love that you look back on your last gig and have that feeling in your heart and that memory of just really being able to take up space for, I don't know, the first time probably in a long, long time. I'm sure maybe when you were a baby or when you were little, you had no problem, but somewhere along the way, just like we all do, we get a belief that says it's not safe to be myself. It's not safe to take up space or speak my truth. And then we just start to pull back when we don't need to live limited like that.
No, yes, we do not need to live limited like that. I agree with that.
When it comes to hypnotherapy, or in the sessions that you've had, how long does it typically take you to come back to normal, and integrate some of the experiences like you said that you were working with that shaman? What was the integration period like? Did you find that you felt more open, more, or anything at all? What was your experience? Do you remember?
Yeah, I would say with that experience, so after our session, I sat with myself for a minute and just kind of did a mini replay, like what just went down.
Yeah.
And then I just went for a walk, and then I had the opportunity to see somebody, and they asked me how I was doing. I was like, "You won't believe it." Myself and stood up for her, and now she, and it was it's such a new experience for me. I was definitely not well versed in the terminology, but I would say that experience was immediate, because I think it's because I took the time to really process it.
Yeah.
I will say though that every time is different. Sometimes I feel it immediately, and then sometimes it's something an external factor will trigger a revelation, like, oh, this used to bother me, now it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah. I do that too.
So I'd say it depends.
Yeah, it's that planting of the seeds in a retroactive experience. And then sometimes when you leave, you feel completely renewed and you've had these insights. And then sometimes, I don't know, I would use an example of getting on set and feeling really grounded in my body one day and just feeling like, oh, I can do this. This is so cool. I'm already doing this. I'm not falling into the anxiety trap. How cool and how new.
Do you have I know that you were talking about a client that you recently have, that she came to you for helping her with her acting, and you said that she's been getting bookings and experiencing some wonderful results.
Yeah. A little bit of a traumatic day where they were throwing things at her on set, which can happen sometimes. It's like some days can be really certain and you know exactly what's going to happen, and then some days they'll throw in a new scene last minute, and you have to memorize a bunch of text or different blocking, just, there's just constantly things going on around on the set, and you have to be adaptable. And I guess what happened with her is that a couple different things led to her feeling a bit anxious, and then she landed up just kind of freezing. And and she couldn't remember her lines. And sometimes when there's like 200 crew members waiting on you, and you start to feel that pressure, and the anxiety builds and builds and builds. And then so from that point, she decided, subconsciously, I think it was kind of fight or flight, and came to the decision that she wasn't good at remembering lines. And then so it became a thing for her. So every time she would get an audition, she'd be like, great, I love the character, this is really exciting, but am I going to be able to remember the lines? And then so it was always this battle for her. And then we started to work together on where it came from, and basically just rewiring or reconnecting her with that ability that she previously had around learning lines, and getting her into such relaxation that her her brain could come to accept the suggestion that she was smart, that she had a great memory, and that the lines were she can absorb them as though they are actually her own words, and they become a part of her. And then so, yeah, we've just been doing kind of upkeep, but her memorization is is just way less grueling for her, and actually a pleasure. And her confidence is growing, and she's off to doing amazing things. So that was so rewarding to witness.
Oh, that's
And I've been there too. I've been there where like I used to be pretty good, and then I went through a phase, I don't know what happened, where it would be like I had to remember this most simple thing, like, hi, how are you? But then I would go into the room, I'd be so nervous, I'd say something completely different, like sup. I don't know, it wasn't that bad, but like it was like not the character. And yeah, I would just be thrown. And then of course, beating myself up, and it's spiraling, and the pressure is building, and you've got eyes on you. So it can be a really, really cool tool to be able to relax at will, and just trust that you know what you're doing, and that it's not that your brain is broken and that you can't remember things. It's that there's just a block and a belief that's been adopted, and it can be cleared, which is really exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you got me when you said three main words that really just got me. You had rewire, reconnect. So it's pretty much the same, but it's so true. It is just reconnecting our potential. What's already there, it's there. And then you said trust.
Yes.
I think having that trust in ourselves,
yeah,
in our potential, in our abilities. It's just, what if, and I think that's such an interesting question to ask. Like, what if I'm the best? What if I can be my best at will, and I don't have to be alone in the shower, singing my heart out in like the perfect tone. It's such a great question. It's like, what if? And I think hypnosis is such a wonderful way to experience the results of that question of yes, I can be.
When you begin to ask yourself questions from a conscious level, your subconscious fills in the blanks, because if you can reverse engineer that. So when you're for instance, when you're like, you've lost your keys or something, or you lose your phone for the millionth time, and you say to yourself, you start saying like, why am I so disorganized? And like you go into this narrative of like, why am I like this, or why am I like that, or why am I so ADD, or whatever it is that you ask yourself. If you know it, like start to know, I don't know if you do that. So what you're saying is the reverse engineer. So asking yourself those questions, you're working with your subconscious the way that it's meant to, and it will answer you. So like, what if I am the best? And then, seeing what kind of falls in there.
Yeah, it seems like that is what gets the best results, is that positivity, and it feels good to be there, especially for creatives, because I feel like, there's a vulnerability, right, to expressing yourself. And there's some things in our culture that are, you can't express yourself. You have to be stoic and stand strong and blah, blah, blah. And it feels good to hold space for that vulnerability, and to ask that question, like, what if you were your best? I love that, filling in the blanks.
Because it does. And then so it's learning how to support yourself in loving ways, and catching yourself when you've gone, because we all do it. We all get tired, or we all get, just generally being a human being on this earth, there are some things that we have to learn to navigate. And I think caring for yourself in that way is asking those really powerful questions.
I personally experienced a lot of negativity, especially about me in my younger years, and often told that I would be nothing. And I took that to heart, I feel like. And it was through hypnotherapy that I was able to give that back. That's not mine. And I know, that's definitely, and just to take on what is mine, and to figure out what is mine, and like you said, giving ourselves the space in that self-care. And I think that's where it starts, even if in order to get to a certain tier of whatever we wanted our success to be, and we just fought through it, because there are plenty of people who have been, spoken down to, but they just kind of fought through it. There gets to a point where no matter how much success that they have, they're never fulfilled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's, well, why not start at ground zero? And do it as we are at this moment, instead of waiting.
Yeah. And I think that even if people do land up finding, their idea of success, but those foundations aren't there, there's a very strong possibility that some form of self-sabotage or something will stop them from really finding that fulfillment and that happiness. So yeah, start from ground zero. So inspiring.
It is. It's wonderful work. It's a blessing to be able to do this and to work with you, Ariel. You have such wonderful insight. You have really, put your blood, sweat, and tears into this industry, into this with acting and creativity, and it's so beautiful that you were able to connect the dots and see that this is a community that needs help with this, and to provide that. And I am beyond grateful to be on board with you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm so grateful to have you. It's just such a blessing to be able to work with you. You are amazing.
It is all possible.